Shalom, family. It's good to see everybody. We are going to go over the Hannah Payne verdict. So, if you did not hear, you're going to hear now. She was found guilty on all charges. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I did all right. I created my own avatar on it. So I'm going to pull that up on the screen so you can see it. And we're going to go over the verdict. I don't know why the bottom is cut off, but the whole thing is there. Hold on 1 second. Can I make it smaller? Yeah. There we go. Now you can see the whole thing. There we go. I made this just for you, just so y'all could see this. So Hannah Payne killed a black man 4 years ago. You know, it was a hit and run accident. She decided to take off after him like she was, the overseer chasing down a slave. The 911 operator told her not to do it, just like George Zimmerman, don't chase the person, let the police handle it. No, she couldn't do that. She couldn't do it. She had to chase him down. She tried to lie on the stand and say that he kidnapped her. And when you watch the video footage, she's doing all the screaming and yelling, and you don't see at any point of him kidnapping her at all. So they found her guilty, and she should have been found guilty. It took them 4 years to get around to this trial. 4 years. And she was lucky to be out that long. It's amazing how when it's one of these folks, it takes forever for them to get to the trial. So she went on the stand and gave a testimony, I would say equivalent to Travis McMichael. Y'all remember when Travis McMichael went up on the stand and all he did was sit there and try to make Ahmaud Arbery seemed like he was just as crazy as can be. Well, she did the same thing. And you know what I think it was, y'all. Once upon a time, that did work for them to always try to make us seem as crazy as possible and out of our minds, right? But it don't work out so well for them anymore. Number one, their word, once it reaches the court, their word don't carry the weight that it once did years ago. Number two is a lot of video evidence that can be presented to the court, and it was in this case. I mean, she was in this man's window using MFR and this and that, but she claims when she got on the stand, she tried to make it seem like she was the victim in the whole thing. But then when you watch the footage did not match her testimony. Okay, it didn't. She tried to claim the man kidnapped her. You didn't see at any point this man pulling her in the car at all. But what you do see is her blocking him in, her getting out with a gun, walking up to his window, screaming like a Karen in front of the man's window. Now, her shirt got ripped, but you know what I think he was doing? He was trying to get her away from his car. That's what he was trying to do. And she wouldn't get away from him. Next thing you know, she shoots him. And then when the police shows up, she nonchalantly hands the gun to the police, like it's nothing. And then another thing that in which I feel incriminated her, she changed her shirt after she shot this black man. She changed her shirt into another shirt. Who does that? You know, no, see, she got that gun and she was itching to use that gun on somebody. I really do believe that. Yeah, she should have mind her business. Even the 911 operator told her, "Don't follow him. Let the police handle it. Don't follow." It's just the same way with George Zimmerman and Trayvon. Same thing. 911 operator said, "Don't follow him." He followed him. All right. These folks have gotten so used to doing whatever the hell they want, when they want, how they want, and now there's a price to pay for doing those things. It's a price now. Now they don't get to skip out of the courtroom like they're totally innocent and didn't take a life. So she, just like the McMichaels, at the end when they got found guilty, they all sat there bawling and crying. Now you got Hannah Payne, same thing. She tried to make the man seem like he was the aggressor, and she even told the court she didn't raise her voice, but when you watch the footage, she's all in the man's truck window screaming and yelling and cussing and everything. But according to her on the stand, she was calm. She never raised her voice. She was calm. I mean, I could not believe it. Yeah, and plus when you listen to, because they showed the body camera from the cop, and it was wherever she was, it was predominantly black. So you saw a lot of black folk on the streets when it happened. And all of them said, "She shot him. She shot him. I can't believe she shot." That's the kind of stuff they were saying. She tried to say this, that he grabbed a hold of her trigger. He absolutely did not grab that trigger. She pulled that trigger. And it was nobody that corroborated her story on the streets. They were all saying the same thing. She just shot that man. She just shot. That's what they were saying. But according to her, she didn't shoot him at all. When she had her gun, what you doing there with a gun? So she ain't the law. So what was she doing there with a gun up in this black man's face? But according to her, he grabbed a hold of the trigger and shot himself. Does this even sound believable? No, no. But any old crazy story she cooked up in her head, she thought that was going to be believable in court. Just like Travis McMichael cooked up some crazy, some outlandish story up in his head and thought it was going to work in court. So let me show you this video from Fox 5 so you can see her whole react. You can clearly see she's crying, but I want y'all to see. Let me see. Can I get to that? It's his family. Okay, I'm going to show you her whole reaction. Let me see here. All right, there we go. I just got to speed this up. Okay. All right, y'all, I got it. All right. Let me stop sharing this because I'm going to show you the video. Thank you, Dark Skin Brother, for the super chat. Thank you. All right, so let me share.
Okay, the court has informed us the jury has arrived at a verdict, and so I'm going to bring them in at this time. Bailiff in his case. So in the case State versus Hannah Payne, case number 2019 CR 01737, court has been informed that you have reached a verdict. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, and are you the foreperson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you kindly stand. Was your verdict unanimous?
Yes, ma'am.
Has the verdict form been filled in, signed, and dated by you?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would have the bailiff bring the verdict form to me, please. Mr. Foreperson, if you would go ahead and read the verdict.
With regard to count 1, as to the offense of malice murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 2, as to the offense of felony murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 3, as to the offense of aggravated assault, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 4, as the offense of felony murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 5, as the offense of false imprisonment, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 6, as to the offense of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 7, as to the offense of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 8, as to the offense of possession of firearm during commission of a felony, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Respectfully submitted, the 12th day of December, 2023.
Counsels, is there anything further required of this jury before I dismiss them?
If the court can hold the jury.
Okay, I will hold the jury. So I'm just going to go sequentially and ask you a number of questions to which you will respond. Foreperson, was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Next person. Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your verdict in the jury room? Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Next. Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that your verdict in the jury room? Was it freely and voluntarily made by you? Is it still your verdict? Was that your verdict in the jury room?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it freely and voluntarily made by you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it still your verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
I have polled the jurors. Ladies and gentlemen, you have now concluded your service on this jury. You're no longer subject to or bound by the instructions that I've previously given to you about not talking to anyone about this case. You're now free to talk to anyone you like about the case and the decision that your jury has reached. By the same token, you're not required to speak with anyone about this case. That is your decision. However, sometimes the attorneys like to talk with you to ascertain your views about the evidence and inputs from how they could improve. But again, you're not required to speak to anyone about the case. That is purely your decision. Again, thank you for your service and your commitment to your jury duty this week. You are free to go.
I'll be hanging out over here tonight.
Right, you'll be outside the
Over
courtroom?
there steps.
Okay. You may be seated. Ms. Payne, I'm going to remand you into the custody of the Sheriff's Department at this time. Counsel, what I do want to do at this time is set a date for the sentencing. My proposed date is December 20th, which is next Wednesday. Yes.
You have to leave, but I'm willing to come back.
Okay. If there are any changes, we will let you know.
Is there any possible way that we have this done on Friday? I know you're already having court, and we just, the family's in from out of town,
Okay,
and they've traveled, and we are putting them up, and
okay,
else to be here. Just for their convenience, we would request that this needs to be home kit.
okay. I believe I can accommodate that.
I have both county is 9 in the morning, my afternoon is where I can after when that case releases.
Okay,
I think this would be a continuation of the trial, but still be on trial, so it's precedent.
okay. I can accommodate the 15th. I just need to see what, we have 9 o'clock on Friday, correct? We could do it after. We could do it after. I could consider 10 o'clock on Friday morning. Okay, all right. Thank you. Court stands adjourned at this time. Thank you all.
Okay. All right, y'all. You know, I did not feel sorry for her even a little bit. She could have left well enough alone and let the cops handle whatever happened. If he did hit someone and continued to drive away, that should not be a death sentence at all. So there is no justifying what she did. It was not justifiable in any kind of way. So trust me, if this was a white man, she would never have chased him down like that with a gun. So you mean to tell me they don't do hit and runs? Hell yeah, they do. They do all the time. And this man, you don't know what kind of distress he was in. You know, he was up in his years, and I did hear, earlier, when this first happened, he was diabetic. And sometimes, you don't know. It could have been a medical emergency. He could have been driving himself to the hospital. She don't know what's going on. She took matters into her own hands when it was not her right to do so. A citizen's arrest. Come on, man. Go somewhere and sit down. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel sorry for her I was never moved by her tears. Even in the beginning, when I first started watching the case, she was crying in court then. But I don't know. I don't know why her lawyer thought it was a good idea to put her on the stand, but he did. And to me, her testimony, she did herself in. She really did. When I was looking at the comment section, I was over on Law and Order Network. I was over there, and nobody, when you looked in the chat, nobody believed her testimony. I did not believe one word of what she said. No one in the chat, everybody was saying, put her butt behind bars, put her in jail, put her in jail. I mean, nobody believed her wild testimony. No one. So who was there? Her parents, and you could see her mother was crying. Her father was the one with the long hair and the long kind of beard. That was her father. And then if you look behind them was her boyfriend. Yeah, that thing had a boyfriend. Her boyfriend, and I think it was some of his family members that was sitting behind her family. So on Friday, we will find out how many years she will get behind bars. So Again, she was found guilty, and rightfully so. I'm glad she was found guilty. I'll put back up here so you can see. On the first count, it was malice murder. She was found guilty. The second count was felony murder, guilty. The third count was aggravated assault, guilty. Fourth count was felony murder. She was found guilty. Fifth count was false imprisonment. Yeah, because she wouldn't let this man go. She purposely angled her SUV and it looked like he ran into her SUV. So she really obstructed him from leaving. You know, it's just like when these Karens are out on the street talking about you can't leave, then that's false imprisonment. They're not allowed to do that to you. Some of these people are just full of themselves. So she definitely did that because it was in the video. The count 6 was possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, guilty. Count 7, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, guilty. And count 8, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, guilty. So it was 8 counts, and she was found guilty on all 8 counts. Well, I'm sure she thought after her testimony, she was positive that she was going to beat this thing. And in my opinion, she had no chance of winning this case. She had no chance. It was just too much incriminating things on the video. You had to see the video when they showed the body cam footage of the cops when he arrived, and there were also cameras. You know how at intersections and stuff, there's cameras everywhere now, all over America. And even before the cop arrived, there was video footage of her just standing around after she shot him. And then you can see the people were like in disarray. They were talking about she shot that man. She shot that man. You know, you could hear that. You never heard from one person that was a justifiable shooting. You didn't hear that from one person. Not one person on the body cam or on the video footage that they were able to get at the scene. Nobody agreed with her. You know, this is what happens when they take matters in their own hands and they won't listen and think because of who and what they are, it's a given they're going to get away with everything. And that is not the case at all. It was just too many things incriminating her. And that man should never have died the way that he did. He should never have died like that. So she can sit there and rot as far as I'm concerned. I could care less about Hannah Payne. Yeah, with the McMichaels sitting there crying when they got found guilty. He was jogging through the neighborhood. Why couldn't you just leave him alone? If he's jogging through, that means he's moving along. He's not doing anything to anyone. But, you know, since we are so suspicious, then, hey, they get caught up in this stuff. And look at what happens. The outcome, it didn't happen the way she thought it was. Yeah, she's full of tears. I don't feel bad for her. Looked like she gained a lot of weight from the time she shot Kenneth Herring in his truck, and the size that she is now, looked like she packed on a good 100 pounds practically. Oh, she got arrested and everything, but she was able to get out of jail. She's been free for a long time from the time she shot Kenneth Herring all the way up until now. She's been free. They were very reluctant to even do anything to her. because she had tried to convince them that it was all self-defense. No, see, if you chase someone down, you can't scream self-defense. You should not have chased them in the first place. But that's what these folks think. They think if they chase you, they can claim self-defense. It was the same way with Ahmaud Arbery. He's jogging through, they get in trucks and chase after him, and then after they kill him, they talk about some self-defense. That ain't self-defense if you got out there chasing somebody. So I'm glad at least the family, or they're finally getting some closure. This woman, she should have been in jail. You know, it's amazing how these people will say to us, oh, you weren't slaves. You're not slaves. Yeah, we're not slaves, and you're not slave owners. You're not slave owners, and you should not be chasing us down out in the streets like you are the slave patrol out here, but y'all do it. We're not slaves, but they still chase us down like we are one. And so, you know, she was out there doing the most, and now she gonna be up there in the prison with those inmates that know exactly what she did. And she better pray some of them won't turn on her because of what she did. You already see what's happening to Derek Chauvin. You know, it's to the point, how much moving around can you do with these people? You really can't do much moving around with them. It doesn't matter where you put them, they're going to be a walking target. So, y'all, if nothing else, the beautiful thing is Hannah Payne was found guilty. She was found guilty. So, Friday, I'm going to tune in to see how long of a sentence she will get in prison. Hopefully, if she does get out, she'll be an elderly woman when she gets out. Okay. You know, they could give her it can be, I think it's going to be 20 years or more. 20 years or more. It could be a lot more. I really, just the way she killed this man, I don't believe she deserves to ever be free, in my opinion. I don't believe she deserves to ever be free. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. And I did see True Royal. She was on the road. That's fine. You know, it's not the end of the world. I can do this. And we'll definitely come back. I hope you all come back tomorrow. I got the footage of Jonathan Majors being chased on the streets up there in New York by Grace Jabari. So make sure you come back and tune in for that. And that's going to be tomorrow. I might have to change the time on that, y'all, because I might be away in the afternoon. So I might push the time until like 4 or even 5 o'clock. That's the only thing that will change. But definitely tune in, because just looking at that chase, it pretty much vindicates Jonathan Majors. He wasn't trying to harm her. He was literally trying to get away from her. So y'all just tune in, and I will show you that footage and we will talk about it. So everybody, please enjoy the rest of your evening until tomorrow when we reconvene and do this again. Shalom, family.